everyone, and welcome to Parent Quick Smart's Grade K, Unit 9, Counting to 100. Meaningful counting activities begin when children are 3 to 4 years of age, but by the end of kindergarten, they should be able to count to 100. Now, the counting process cannot be forced, so for children to have an understanding of counting, they must be able to construct this idea. The meaning attached to counting is a key conceptual idea in which all other number concepts are developed. So what do the kindergarten state standards say about counting to 100? Well, kindergarten students will be able to count to 100 by tens and by ones. Also, and most importantly, kindergarten students will count forward from any given number instead of having to begin at 1. So for example, they can start at 22 and then know that 23, 24, 25 are the following numbers. So being able to start at any number in the counting sequence and be able to count on from that. Before we move any further, I want to clear a common misconception or a common error made when learning to count. That there must be meaning behind counting. So it may sound like your child may know how to count because they can recite a counting song or a portion of a counting sequence, but it may not necessarily mean that they truly know their numbers to 100. So I wanted to give you a little bit of information from John van der Walle. So counting involves two separate skills, the ability to produce a standard list of counting words, for example, 1, 2, 3, and so on, and the ability to connect the number sequence in a one-to-one manner with objects. So if I had a pile of marbles, I can count the marbles, pulling one out at a time, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Counting has to have that meaning, not just be able to recite the words. A teacher might assess the understanding of counting to 100 in several ways. I'm just going to give you two examples of that. So you see over here to the left, we see caterpillars, and the segments of the caterpillar have some blank segments, and then some of the segments have numbers in them. So a task would be that the student would have to complete that number sentence. Now notice these caterpillars, they don't start at the number 1. It is a random spot in the counting sequence, and they have to complete that counting sequence. And then over to the right, we have a 100 chart, and then we have many spaces of the 100 chart that is blank. So that way the child would have to rely upon the numbers that are filled in to then fill in the missing parts of the counting sequence to 100. Now with this 100 chart, the purpose of a 100 chart is for students to be able to see the patterns within counting. So if you look over at number 1 and you follow that column down, we know that every number in that column is going to have a 1 in the ones place. And hopping over to say, the number 6, every number in that column of 6 in the ones place is going to have a number 6. And the purpose for that is students can easily see the patterns within counting and also know the patterns of skip counting by tens. So we can see that we have 6, 16, 26, and then they would be able to see that the next number would be 36, 46, 56, and so on. So that is the value behind a 100 chart, is being able to easily see some of those patterns that we have within our counting sequence. Here we have another assessment example, and it references a child counting forward by ones, but then stopped at a certain number, in this case it's 62, and the child would have to select which counting sequence she would continue to use if she wanted to continue counting forward. Now notice with these answer choices, there are some that a child, if they didn't understand the question, or if they didn't understand what counting forward meant, they might actually pick, a different answer choice. So we purposely put some, distractors in there to also assess that the child knows that we're counting forward by ones and not backwards, or counting forward by tens and so on. So having the student understand what counting forward means, counting by ones mean, counting by tens, and so on. Ways to help your child at home. So you could pre-count out a bundle of items, and a bundle of items could be toothpicks or pennies or marbles, etc. And you would give that bundle to your child and let them know how many there are in that bundle. So say, for example, we had toothpicks and we had 36 of them. Have your child then add on to the bundle by placing additional toothpicks onto that bundle. So they would say, okay, 36, then they would add another toothpick, 37, 38, and so on. So they are counting on from that original bundle or given number. Another way is use either number flashcards for a number selected at random, or you can just write down a random 2-digit number. And prompt the child to continue counting on from that number. Continue that counting sequence on. Another example to help at home is to create a 100 chart puzzle. You would get 2 identical copies of a 100 chart. These are either easily located online, or you can get them from your child's teacher. You would take one of the charts and cut out the numbers in various shapes. Have your child place the puzzle pieces accurately onto the other 100 chart. You can see from the picture there, we have pieces that are in the shape of an L and a Z, or a square, which is like 2 rows of 2 numbers. But be careful when you're cutting out these pieces. Make sure that the pieces end up coming from more than just one row or more than one column in the 100 chart. We want children to be able to have to rely on their understanding of the number sequence or patterns within the 100 chart, so that way they're able to complete the puzzle. If you happen to have a smartphone or an iPad or any other tablet at home, I wanted to share with you some of the free mobile apps to download that can help teach counting to 100. So I have a list here over to the left: Mystery Numbers, 100 Square, Montessori 100 Board, Hundreds Board, Learning to Count to 100, Count to 100, or Eggy Numbers to 100 are all really good apps that you could download for free and have your child, play with. Many of them are games, some of them are instructional, so I just wanted to provide you with some of those free mobile applications for you to download. We have come to the end of our Parent Quick Smarts video. As a reminder, keep in communication with your child's teacher. Don't hesitate to visit www.thinkcentral.com for extra activities and games and tasks for your child, and also the elementarymath.mysdhc.org for additional mathematics information. See you next episode.